Hi, welcome to the session on life cycle of your trade. We'll be seeing all the steps involved in your trade, from where your trade begins and what are the steps it goes through, and finally how it gets settled. So I will be using this entire board, and so since there are too many steps, I need to be little conservative towards space. Uh, I'll begin from here. So imagine an investor getting in touch, uh, with his research team. It happens at the pre-trade stage. This is the first step. Pre-trade, also called as trade initiation stage. Where an investor will get in touch with his research team, and then he will get an idea about today in which market he is supposed to trade, what should be the quantity, and for which stock he is supposed to trade, and then he will decide whether to be a buyer or the seller on that day. Let's say for this at this time we will consider this investor as a buyer. He has decided to buy some shares. Okay, similarly on the other side, there is another investor who also got in touch with his research team, and his research team advised him to be a seller, let's say for Facebook stock. So they both have decided to buy and sell Facebook at a particular price. So once they both decide to be a buyer and seller, this investor will approach or will inform all the details to the broker, which is called as trade initiation, which is called as order placement stage. Wherein he is placing the order placement stage. He is placing the order to the broker. Okay, broker, similarly on the seller side also, he is approaching his broker and placing the order. So second step called as order placement stage. Okay, the broker will punch in all the details into the system, and his platform will check in the stock exchange if there is any order that matches with his order. Once it gets matched, okay, so it will happen through stock exchange. Once it gets matched, it goes to the next stage called as trade execution stage. Trade will get executed. Trade execution stage. Okay, so first step happens on T plus 0 at the front office level. Why front office? Because front office as in this is where client data will be pulled, so that we can use it for the request given by the client. Okay, this also happens on T plus 0 front office level. Okay, this to T plus 0 front office level. Okay, now once trade gets executed, once the system finds the right match, trade will get executed. Once it gets executed, the broker will pass on the trade details to the custodian. Now what is this custodian? Custodian is coming out of the word custody, which means taking care or safeguarding. So over here, safeguarding the investor's financial assets. Okay, so who plays the role of this custodian? You can take the example of any big investment banks, that can take the license of your custodian and can play this role. Typically in India, these investment banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, BNY Mellon, they all play the role of a custodian. Whereas in India, it is also called as depository participants. That's the Indian terminology. Now within this custodian, so this custodian is supposed to take care of the financial assets. So since since investor has bought shares or investor has sold shares, okay, for this investor, over here he will approach his custodian. So here this investor has sold shares. This has to be recorded in the client's account. Okay, so that's the reason they are informing to the custodian, who is supposed to make the required changes. Now within the custodian there are many teams. So within the custodian there is a team called trade capture team. So trade capture team will capture all the trade details. Okay, so let me give stages number also. So I have given 1, then 2, then 3. So now let me give here as 4. So trade capture team will capture all the trade details and key it into the system. This happens on T+0 at the middle office level. MO stands for middle office over here. So why middle office? Because client facing is over now. We have already taken information from the client. Now we are going to key in all those details into the system, and then further work on that data. So now it goes into middle office level. Then once trade capture goes into middle office level work, then it goes to the next stage called as trade enrichment. Okay, so under trade enrichment, again it happens on T+0 middle office level. All the data is segregated between trade data and static data. Trade data and static data. So what do you mean by trade data? So trade data refers to those data which are particular for that particular which are particular only for that trade. Say for example, name of the stock, because next time the stocks you need not necessarily place trade on the same stock. Name of the stock, quantity, so the quantity will change. Then what else? Quantity, price of the stock, the price of the stock will change next time when you place the trade. So all this information is only pertaining to this trade at the moment. Okay, name of the stock, quantity, price, then date. Okay, date will change. Direction, so direction as in like buy, sell. Okay, so direction. Okay, direction as in buy or sell. So all these are related to trade data. Then what could be static data? Static data example, which will not change. Okay, so even if the client places the next trade, his name will remain the same. Name of the client, his contact details will remain the same. Contact details. Okay, so when I say contact details is phone number, his address will remain the same. Then SSI stands for standard settlement instructions. It will have details about his bank name, bank account number, so bank details, bank details, SWIFT code, IBAN number, country of settlement, country and currency of settlement, country of settlement and currency of settlement. Okay, so this way the data will be enriched as in adding more value or making it more sensible, more organized. So data will be segregated between trade data and static data. So once it is done, it goes to the next stage called as trade validation, also called as trade verification stage, where all this data will be further cross-checked to avoid any kind of mistakes. So happens on T+0, again middle office level. Okay, so once all these are done, so all this team comes under the custodian. So once all these are done, a confirmation will be sent to the investor, okay, which in India we call this as contract note. By the end of the day, it will be sent to the investor Otherwise it is also called as confirmation stage. So let me give the number as 7, confirmation stage. So it will have details about the trade placed. Okay, so this also happens on T+0 middle office level, right? Then simultaneously, end of the day, stock exchange will pull all the trade details and pass it on to another entity called as clearing house. Okay, now what do you mean by this clearing house? Clearing refers to finding net obligations for the counterparties involved in the trade. So finding net obligation as in who owes how much. Okay, say for example, who owes how much as in, so in this case, this buyer, what is he supposed to get and what is he supposed to pay, and this seller, what is he supposed to get and what is he supposed to pay. It is just like, you can think as if like you are standing in a mall, shopping mall, and then you are buying some clothes, and then you are going to the shopping counter, and then you are telling to the counter guy like, clear my account. What does that mean? So you are asking him to tell you how much you owe to him so that you can just pay off and move from there. Similarly over here, this clearinghouse will find out how much buyer and seller owe. So this clearinghouse in India, National Securities Clearing Corporation of India, National Securities Clearing Corporation Limited acts as the clearinghouse, NSCCL. Okay, and so this clearinghouse, it takes up the counterparty guarantee. That means this buyer, if you notice here, this buyer and seller, or this custodian and this custodian, they are not directly talking to each other. Okay, so it will, the system behaves as if this custodian, for this buyer's custodian, this clearinghouse is the counterparty, whereas and this seller's custodian, again this clearinghouse is the counterparty. So clearinghouse takes the counterparty counterparty guarantee over here. So how this works, let's see. So this step, this is called as, again this happens on T+0 middle office, this is called as transaction reporting step. Transaction reporting, wherein stock exchange will pull out all the data of the trade and pass it on to the clearinghouse. Okay, so these are the steps that happens on T+0. T+1, there is only one step. So this trade life cycle, this is as per US market. Okay, as per US market, where it takes T+3 working days. So we are checking here why it takes T+3, what happens in those 3 working days. That's what we are learning over here. Okay, so T+0, so many steps happens. T+1, there is only one. So this buyer who has got the confirmation, he will check, okay, whether he is okay with all the trade details or not. Here, assuming everything is fine, he will inform this to the custodian, which is called as affirmation stage. Affirmation. So let me give the number over here. So 7, this is 8, so this is 9. Affirmation. Okay, so affirmation as in what? Investor is informing to the custodian that everything is fine with the contract note. He is fine with the with the name of the stock, quantity, price, direction. He is fine with all the details. Okay, so together this confirmation and affirmation is called as trade agreement. Okay, together it is called as trade agreement. Fine, so trade agreement has happened. Now confirmation has happened, and affirmation also has happened. So this is happening on T+1 middle office level. T+1 middle office. Then what next? So after this, T+2 is when clearing work begins. So clearing is what? Finding out the net obligations for the counterparties involved in the trade. So this clearinghouse will get in touch. Now this clearinghouse will not directly get in touch with the custodian. There is another layer in between called as clearing member. Okay, clearing member. Now this clearinghouse will get in touch with the clearing member, Clearing member, so this happens on T plus 2 and back office level. Okay, now this is back office. Why back office? Because initially at the front office level we pulled the data from the client. At the middle office level we added more value. We had made it a little more organized way. We enriched the data. Now it is going to the third stage, that is back office level, wherein we will use the data for which we have pulled. So why did we get all this information? So that we do clearing and settlement. So the data is going towards that direction. That's why it is moving to the next stage called as back office level. Okay, so this work happens at the back office level, wherein clearinghouse will pass on all these details to the clearing member. Clearing member will connect with the custodian to confirm whether actually all these trade details that clearinghouse is giving to the clearing member is acceptable to the custodian or not. So this also happens on T plus 2 back office level. Now, because on T plus 1 client has already affirmed it, on that basis custodian will go to the clearing member and say yes, the trade has taken place and it was done by our client only for so and so quantity, price, for so and so stock. All these details will be further confirmed by the custodian to the clearing member, which in turn will be passed on to the clearing house. Similarly, on the right hand side also these steps will take place. So this is happening on T plus 2 at the back office level. So now clearinghouse knows that trade has taken place and it has been confirmed by both the custodian. Now clearinghouse will have an idea about exactly who owes how much, and then clearinghouse will pass on these details to another entity called depository. Okay, depository. So let me use another color here just to differentiate. So depository, it will go to the depository. Now this is called happening on T plus 2 back office. This is called settlement instructions, this stage. So if I have to give number, so here let me give, so this is 8, 9, so let me give the number as 10th step over here. 10th is all about clearing. Okay, 10th is all about clearing. Then I'll make this 11th one, which is about settlement instruction. Settlement instructions. Settlement instructions. So clearinghouse will pass on these settlement instructions to the depository. Now what is depository? Now depository is an entity which does the work of maintaining pooled account of the custodian. So depository will have pooled account. So let's say this is custodian 1 and this is custodian 2. They are maintaining the pooled account of the custodian. Okay, yeah. So these are the steps on T plus 2. So I'll just quickly repeat. On T plus 2, clearing work happens at the back office level, wherein clearinghouse will get in touch with the clearing member and the custodian, and custodian in turn will get in touch with the clearing member, which will be again passed on to the clearinghouse. And then clearinghouse, once getting all the details, will pass on details to the depository. So then on T plus 3, the last day, settlement takes place on T plus 3. So on T plus 3, so what do you mean by settlement? Settlement refers to transfer of ownership. Okay, so on T plus 3 morning, what happens is, this is buyer's custodian. So in his share, assuming let's say 100 shares of Facebook have been bought, has been bought by the client. So 100 shares will be created over here, and then here 100 shares will be debited. This is for the seller's custodian. Okay, so this is called settlement. So this is settlement. So this, I'll give the number as 12th step, settlement. Settlement happening at the back office level, T plus 3 working days, T plus 3. Okay, back office settlement. Similarly, over here also, the custodian will add 100 shares. Okay, and here the custodian will debit 100 shares. Okay, so this is again settlement stage. settlement T+2 back office. Okay, so again T+2 back office, right? And so this is how settlement takes place, and then the shares will be reaching the investors account. Post this, the reconciliation work begins. I know it looks quite shabby, but once you practice, it should be all right. Since there are so many steps involved in it, it becomes little difficult to draw in a very clean fashion, but I hope you understand. Thank you so much. Thanks for your attention. Thank you.